Good afternoon or late morning to those of you joining us from the West Coast today. My name's Eric Lanask. I'm with TMC, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all and to kick off today's live webinar, which is called, as you can see, hopefully on your screens, Don't Allow Background Noise to Hijack Your Calls or Impact Your Artificial Intelligence Engines. Now, in today's age of needing to accommodate very flexible work arrangements, mobile workforces and such, you all know the ability to connect your employees with colleagues, with customers, and with partners, wherever each of them may be physically located, is more important than ever. It's one of the reasons unified communication services continue to see increased adoption. Much of the conversation, though, around UC focuses around features and functionality and multi-channel options and network reliability and HD quality and things like that. But when it comes to call quality, which is a part of the conversation, most people don't really think about background noise. At some point, you've all probably been on a call with somebody who's outdoors at the airport, on a busy warehouse floor, a train station, or some other noisy environment. And it's really hard to have a good, productive conversation when you've got to constantly ask those people to repeat what they've been telling you. Of course, we're in a very crazy time right now, as you're all aware, and there's an unprecedented number of people that are working from home. It's created an immediate increase in the use of all of these unified communications and collaboration tools and services. But that all really highlights an important fact, that when we're working in non-traditional settings, it can mean that we have to deal with unconventional problems like noise. Just yesterday, in fact, I was on a call with a colleague and the phone started ringing a couple of times in his house. So he stepped outside to try to get a little more quiet so we could have a better conversation when a truck from the city pulled up and started doing some work just outside their house. Well, tried to solve a problem and another one arose up, both of them involving background noise. It was a little bit distracting to say the least. Um, you know, when you think about the customer experience though, when your agents, your voice-driven AI tools, all of those too, can't clearly hear your customers when they're speaking to you, when they've got background noise. It's all a recipe for disaster, whether you're talking about internal communications or external communications with your partners or customers. Avoiding those communications disasters, regardless of where they're coming from, is what we're here to talk about today. And joining me for the conversation, I'm pleased to have with me David Liu, who is the founder and CEO of DeltaPath. And David's going to be talking to us today about background noise, its impact on businesses, users, customers, and AI engines and other technology. As we work through today's session, David's going to be touching on several topics: audio quality and the impact that it's having on today's work from home or work from anywhere trend, in fact, why organizations need to focus on improving audio quality, the domino effect that background noise has on customer experience and revenue. David's going to give you an introduction to DeltaPath's noise cancellation gateway. And the highlight, I think, of today's event is going to be a video demonstration of two calls, one with the noise cancellation gateway and one without. We'll get into a bit about driving business outcomes with AI. And as always, we've left some time at the end for Q&A. I certainly encourage each of you to use the interface on your screens to submit your question to us, and feel free to do that as they come up during the event, so we don't want you to forget them. We'll also be providing some contact information at the end of the event, as well as a follow-up email, so you can get in touch with DeltaPath if you have additional questions or want more information. So with that having been said, let's get into some great content. David, welcome. It's great to have you with us. Maybe let's set the stage a little bit. Can you tell us something about DeltaPath's take on unified communications?
Well, at DeltaPath, we focus on helping organizations and the people they employ communicate and collaborate successfully with each other, customers, partners, everyone. And we do this by liberating organizations from the barriers that prevent effective communications with technologies that meet the current needs of businesses and their employees. A classic problem confronting organizations today is incompatible devices that don't allow staff to interact or exchange data with each other. Let's take company X, for example, who has Cisco phones on their desk, Polycom video conference in their meeting room. The company also uses Zoom for meetings on their desktop and different apps for texting on mobile devices. These type of heterogeneous environment are actually very common. And to remedy this problem, organizations reach out to DeltaPath to establish a homogeneous environment where everyone is connected to each other. So communication, collaboration, and productivity can rapidly take shape. Now, this is why DeltaPath is introducing the noise cancellation gateway, because it deals with one of the oldest and most prevailing problem, negatively impacting communication and everything tied to communication. In fact, we were inspired by some of the customers who came forward to us approximately a year ago, expressing their needs of such a product, which no other vendors are currently delivering. For example, we had a wireless phone company that reached out to us and say, hey, most people who are on their cell phones are somewhere outside, and generally it is really noisy, noisy on the subway, noisy on the streets, passing through construction zones, driving, while pairing up with their Bluetooth. It's all very noisy. How do we help our wireless customers to have a much better sound quality? We also had another AI company who actually reached out to us and say, hey, we've been doing voice recognition, voice transcribing, voice commands, and it's actually really difficult to filter background noise before we feed it into the AI engines. And how can I actually help to improve the accuracy rate? So you see, Eric, companies are no longer just discussing what the right office environment is for good audio quality. Now, today, the discussion also includes how to offer good audio quality to employees who work and engage in business meetings and sales outside of the office, and ensure prospects and customers can clearly hear employees and employees can clearly hear them.
Absolutely, David. And when you talk about employees working outside of the office, in the non-traditional environment, obviously we're in a period right now where millions and millions of people are doing that. But aside from that, is that a new work trend that you are seeing and something that's going to extend once the current situation calms down?
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, there's a new work trend where workers are not tied down to any one place, and they're not restricted to a building or an office. I mean, these individuals work anywhere. I'm sure you, Eric, and the majority of the audience today are most likely working from home due to the coronavirus. But even back at our normal daily routine, you all have seen people on business calls at the airport, walking down the sidewalk, while waiting for a bus or a train, or even while driving. And for people in sales and consulting, it has nothing to do with the current trend. I mean, they simply spend a big part of their time working while on the road by nature of their jobs.
Of course, certainly, and I agree. There's a lot of people that I know that do it regularly. Now, what about text messaging? It's something that has really, really grown in popularity over the past decade or so. I'd imagine that you might not see as many people using the phone anymore for voice. Um, how important in that context is it important how important is it to solve audio challenges given the
Well,
growth in texting?
yeah. Well, Eric, the primary communication method used between businesses and customer is still voice. The rise of omni-channel communication has definitely increased the mediums by which customers can communicate. Text, email, push to talk are all popular communication mediums, but voice still leads the way because it provides the richest interactions between people. Now, this brings me to a very important point because of the new work trend. More people than ever are on the phone while on the subway, walking past construction sites, or while sitting in the back of a motorcycle, cruising down the busy streets, and even more so working from home. So don't underestimate the amount of noise level at home. Many of us here in America, we have the luxury of a dedicated room as our office. But in many parts of the world where land is extremely precious, we may be forced to take calls in a cramped space while others at home are watching TV, cooking, vacuuming, drying their hair, just to name a few.
I totally agree with that, David. But when it comes to that background noise, is filtering really all that important?
Well, Eric, background noise, which wears many other names like environmental noise or sound pollution, comes from a multitude of sources, that we are surrounded by. It's everywhere. Anytime background noise is part of your call, it prevents people from hearing you, or at the very least, it is very distracting and mentally draining for you and others on the phone trying to focus on the conversation. Now imagine if I'm in a noisy environment right now, you would not enjoy having this conversation with me. You know, Background noise, it's gaining attention again because unlike being in an office where you can control background noise by moving from your desk to a meeting room or different parts of the building, you cannot control background noise when you're outside the office. It is disrupting conversations everywhere. Plus, organizations and people are starting to realize background noise will only increase due to population growth and urbanization. Now, this creates a large problem for the new work from anywhere trend, spreading across the nation. Now, there is no greater frustration for a customer calling a business or an employee receiving a call from a customer where it is difficult to hear. Equally important, phone calls are the preferred mode of communication when there is a difficult issue that needs discussing, an urgent matter, a complaint, or when self-service options like the IVR system fails to complete your transaction. You need to get to a live person. You want to talk to a live person. You want to have a phone call with someone. And not being able to hear a customer or a customer not being able to hear a company's employees doing a phone call can be the trigger for poor customer experience, poor customer interaction, loss of a sale, or loss of a loyal customer who turns around and buys from a competitor.
Well, David, now you're really talking about some of the things that matter to businesses. And that's when things start eating into revenue. What does it mean really to businesses and their revenue and profit streams to have a good customer experience?
Good question, Eric. I will get to that in a minute, but first, customer experience is a major driving force behind a company's revenue. As everyone already knows it, it's also the driving force behind customer acquisition, customer retention, and so much more. Now, equally important, customer experience is one of the primary differentiators that businesses can control. Now, getting back to your question, Eric, what does it mean to companies' wallets, right? Great customer experience improves customer spending. Customers who have the best experience go on to spend 140% more than those who had a bad or not so great experience. Business leaders continue to report that delivering great experience reduce costs. Now, let's take Sprint Mobile, for example. The company has gone on record to share that its focus on improving CX has reduced its customer care costs by as much as 33%. Now, improved customer experience gives you a competitive edge. Now, recently, DeltaPath worked with AirAsia, a leading low-cost carrier in Asia, to improve its contact center operations with the use of our enterprise technology. Now, in the airline industry, increased efficiency is key in gaining a competitive edge over your competitors. AirAsia wanted to set itself apart by going beyond what customers typically expect from most airlines. The airline wanted little or no time spent on looking up customer information and for agents to greet customers by name and all information such as the customer's itinerary to be available at the onset of the call. What we did was we integrated our system with their Salesforce.com solution, allowing all of the customer's history to be pulled up on the agent screen before the agent even answers the call. Now, to put you into perspective, AirAsia receives about 2,000 calls a day. Now, we help to reduce its average duration per call by at least a minute per call, which it actually translates to 33 man hours a day. Now, this allows the agent to serve more customers with the same human resources while reducing customer waiting time in the call queue, thus giving them a competitive edge in air travel by improving customer experience and customer interaction.
Oh, wow, David, those are some pretty impressive numbers indeed. So you've made a great case for why companies should invest time and effort in their voice and the quality of voice experiences, even as we have these multi-channel opportunities and experiences because of the essential nature of voice to the customer experience and business success. Talk to us a little bit about how DeltaPath helps solve these voice or call quality challenges.
Well, at DeltaPath, we decided that one of the focuses should be on helping businesses control the customer experience each time they interact with the customer over the phone. So this is why we're introducing the DeltaPath Noise Cancellation Gateway, which is here to help companies solve their prospect, customer, employee problems all at once, because everyone should be able to hear and be heard. Now, DeltaPath Noise Cancellation Gateway acts like a filter. It identifies and traps all non-human voices to give you crystal clear audio over your business phone lines. Now, equally important, the gateway filters noise on both ends of a call because background noise is not unidirectional. Now, a little bit about the gateway. Last year, DeltaPath partnered with Dolby Laboratories. Adobe is one of the most recognized brands around the world. It is renowned for delivering top quality, innovative audio solutions that most of the audience have experienced when watching a Hollywood movie. And some of you might even have Adobe in-home theater system as well. Now, DeltaPath is leveraging Dolby's renowned audio expertise to enhance its products in order to confront some of the largest communication and collaboration issues. Our noise cancellation gateway is backed by Dolby's noise cancellation technology. And because of that, no matter how noisy a customer's environment is, your employee can hear the customer. And no matter how noisy your company environment is, no one will have trouble hearing your employee. And finally, if there is noise on both ends of a call, the noise cancellation gateway ensures everyone can hear and be heard.
Oh, fantastic, David. There are obviously a lot of different UC systems that businesses are using today. Do they need to migrate those systems over to DeltaPath in order to take advantage of this better sound quality?
Very good question, Eric. You absolutely do not need to be a DeltaPath UC customer to experience better sound quality and Dolby's noise cancellation technology. We designed this gateway with the expectation that customers can use their favorite UC system, Microsoft, Cisco, Avaya, you name it. Our gateway only sits between the PSTN and your UC server, right? The gateway can be used in every industry with any platform.
Fantastic, David. So how do you connect it to your infrastructure?
Well, firstly, there is no impact to your voice infrastructure, and connecting to your infrastructure is actually really easy. The gateway can be configured within 10 minutes, so your business can easily flex to accommodate your employees, customers, and partners, no matter where they choose to take their next call. Now, let me give you a more in-depth look at setting up the gateway. I'm going to show everyone two of the most typical installs. And in this first configuration, you would connect your PRI lines, also known as T1, E1 on the right-hand side of the diagram, to our PRI gateway, which then sends all calls to the Delta Path noise cancellation gateway for filtering before delivering call to your UC or PBX server, such as Cisco Call Manager on the left. Now, in this second configuration, you will be using SIP trunks, and the SIP trunks can connect directly to our noise cancellation gateway. Now, bear in mind that our gateway has a built-in session border controller to interface with any popular SIP trunk providers, such as AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint. Now, again, after filtering is completed, it hands off to your PBX via SIP. I'm going to show you one more diagram, which if you're currently using cloud PSTN provider such as Trilio, you can actually connect to our Delta Path Cloud as well. And here on the right-hand side, you see the Trilio Cloud PSTN. And from there, you can actually trunk it to the Delta Path Cloud, and which is where our noise cancellation gateway will take place and filter the audio before channeling it through the internet to the final destination, which would, in this case, your Cisco CUCM server.
Great, David. Can you explain a little bit about how the gateway actually functions in action?
Yes, Eric. Well, just like seeing is believing, I think hearing is understanding. Originally, I actually planned it for a live demo, but now due to the COVID-19 outbreak, all of us are under shelter in place as mandated by the governor of the state of California. So instead, we have prepared a recorded video to demonstrate the powerfulness of Delta Path Noise Cancellation Gateway. Now, as this webinar platform is not designed for video streaming, you may feel the video is a little laggy. We're going to be sending you out a dedicated link later on in the webinar session, so you can actually watch this on our website again. Now, before we start this demo video, I wanted to kind of quickly show you the configuration. So we actually prepared 2 different Cisco call managers and 2 different Cisco phones. So each of the Cisco phone connects to its respective Cisco call manager. And we decided to hook up our Delta Path noise cancellation gateway between one of the Cisco call managers so that you can compare with and without our noise cancellation gateway and see what difference it makes to your business phone calls.
Everyone, just like seeing is believing, we think hearing is convincing. Today I have a demonstration prepared for you. I've got 2 Cisco phones on the table right here. With the first Cisco phone, we have it set up to an independent call manager, which then goes out to the PSTN. On the second phone, we not only have it connected to the call manager, it's also connected after the call manager to our Delta Path noise cancellation gateway, which then goes out to the PSTN. I have my colleague Nick with me. He's outside. Nick, can you say hi? Great. Nick will be using his cell phone to call in today and have you guys experience the difference that our voice cancellation gateway makes. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Trinity, I'm actually standing in front of this construction site. Lots of traffic noise going on, lots of construction noise. How much of it?
You know what, Nick? I can barely hear you at all. The environmental noise that's surrounding you is really loud. Why don't you do me a favor and hang up and call me back on the other Cisco phone that has the voice cancellation gateway set up.
All right, sounds good.
Great. Thanks, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Hi there, Nick.
Hey, Shamati, it's still really loud out here. How about now?
Are you kidding me? I can't hear any background noise. If I wasn't looking at the screen, I would have no idea that you were outside.
Wow, that's amazing. My ears are still bleeding out here.
Oh, no. You know what, Nick? I think we can end this call. You can come back into the office. I think the demonstration showed how great our noise cancellation gateway is.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Sharadi.
Thanks. Take care, Nick. Everyone, as you can see from this demonstration alone, noise cancellation gateway makes a big difference. So if you want your employees and partners and customers to hear you and you want to be heard, it's time to invest in a noise cancellation gateway. Thanks.
Well, with millions of people currently working from home while schools are closed, entire families are at home. And while one member in the family is on a work call, there could be background noise, loud noises from TV or vacuum, among other things. And so you probably notice background noise more than ever than before. Now imagine the power of the noise cancellation gateway. It can help your employee to focus on what the customer is saying and reduce call time because he or she can answer questions fast, listen intently to a customer's feedback or complaint, then move swiftly to a resolution. No customer wants to feel like their time is being wasted, and no company wants to open a review and see they were rated poorly or see a negative social media post about the company. Or worse, discover they lost a loyal customer.
Wow, David, fantastic demos. And for everybody in our audience, I'd love to point out that I actually have seen that demo live, not just on the video as we all just did. The experience was exactly the same. And as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty amazing. Now, David, other than a better phone call experience, we promised some other use cases that you would be able to share.
Well, these days, people are all talking about analytics and AI. Businesses that are ready to take a serious approach to controlling the outcome of customer experience can discover a body of crucial information with the help of artificial intelligence. It is no surprise, therefore, that more and more companies are adopting AI to drive business outcomes like positive customer experience we talked about. This all translates into higher company revenue and customer acquisitions and customer retention. Now, let's take a closer look at AI engines as they relate to a few things. Now, to drive business outcomes, many companies are relying on capturing and analyzing the true voice of the customer with data from phone calls from all of their business departments. Some companies, like call centers, have thousands of hours of voice data. Imagine the information and evidence a company can acquire to drive action that improves customer experience, agent performance, and much more. Now, the problem is having access to voice data isn't enough. Unfortunately, business learned too late that call data can only truly be capitalized on when the data is of high quality. Now, that is voice data without background noise interference. Now, when background noise interferes with the collection of voice data, this means valuable data remains untapped or unused. Now, if you have adopted AI or are thinking of adopting an AI and are using voice data, DeltaPath Noise Cancellation Gateway is an essential component to clean up the audio before feeding it to any AI engine so that it can transform and capture and analyze your data accurately.
Great, David. So, a lot of people have occasion to call UPS or FedEx or their banks or credit card companies, and those self-service technologies ask them to read tracking number, account numbers, other information over the phones to their automated digital assistants. My experience is that sometimes those technologies may misunderstand what I'm saying. And it could be because I'm in a noisy environment. Does your noise cancellation gateway help with that?
Yes, absolutely, Eric. In fact, that that is really a great example use case. Many companies utilize artificial intelligence in their interactive voice response system, also known as IVR, for allowing their customers to read a tracking number, account number, credit card number, order number, just to name a few. Now, it is very common where an IVR system cannot interpret a customer's voice command as a result of background noise. Now, unfortunately, customers do not experience the results they want, and the DeltaPath noise cancellation gateway can ensure background noise is filtered, opening the way for customers' commands to be interpreted correctly and to impress your customers' experience.
Well, absolutely, David. AI is really changing the face of IVRs. But what about all of the voice assistant technologies that people are using in their homes and even in businesses today, that like Alexa, Google, Siri, things like that?
Well, digital assistants are fast becoming a way of life. Alexa, Siri, Amazon and Apple's digital voice assistants are not just convenient tools. They are very real applications of artificial intelligence and becoming very important to our everyday lives. Now, when you make a request to Alexa or Siri, the microphone on the device actually records your command. If you're talking to Alexa, the recording is sent to Alexa voice services. This cloud-based service will then review your recording and interpret your request. Then the system will send a relevant response back to the device. Now, as you can imagine, when you talk to Alexa at home, most likely your TV is on, kids are playing music or video games, interfering with Alexa's understanding of your voice command. Now, therefore, adding the noise cancellation gateway to this process will ensure the correct response is sent to the user. And setup is actually really straightforward. Now, here is an example using Amazon Dot in this configuration diagram. Now, you can easily connect to DeltaPath Cloud from your cloud servers, such as Alexa servers in this case. Here, the user of Amazon Dot would say something, and the raw audio will go all the way into Alexa servers, and then send to DeltaPath Cloud in real time, so that our noise cancellation gateway filters it, cleans it, and send it back to Alexa servers, so that it can be used for better interpretation and then better interaction with the actual user on the right-hand side. Now, here's a final diagram I wanted to share, which relates back to the intelligent IVR discussion we had, Eric. It's if you actually have your contact center in the cloud, which is quite common in today's day and age, you can also pair up with your cloud PSTN provider. In this example, again, using Twilio. So when a customer calls your 1-800 toll-free number, it would then go through your cloud PSTN into, again, our DeltaPath Cloud, where we clean up the audio before routing to your cloud smart IVR, which then you can interpret the account numbers and UPS tracking numbers without the background noise. And also, if necessary, connect to a real live person with the audio all cleaned up. So in conclusion, whether your AI engine is analyzing voice input, interpreting voice commands, transcribing audio to text, or interpreting people's emotions through their tone of voice, DeltaPath noise cancellation gateway can ensure you capture high quality audio and boost your AI engine's accuracy rate by filtering noise pollution.
Excellent, David. Some fantastic information there. Really appreciate your insight, and the demo was fantastic. We do have some time left for Q&A, so let's get to some of these questions. Now, maybe I'll start with you used Twilio in a couple of the slides as an example. Obviously, people are using so many different cloud providers out there. you'll work with any of those cloud PBXs, right?
Yes, yes. So SIP trunk providers, I named like AT&T, Verizon, Sprint Mobile, cloud PSTN providers such as Twilio, Nextivia. So there's basically any providers that support SIP generally would be supported with our platform and also with our gateway.
Thanks, David. You talked about specifically about non-human voices being filtered, and obviously we saw that in the video as well. Does that mean that you're not able to filter human noise, people talking?
No. So the reason why we say non-human voice, it's because when we actually do the filtering, we actually have to look at the human voice spectrum, obviously, but we also have to recognize whether someone is actually trying to talk to you directly, or there is just a bunch of human voice as ambient noise. Give you an example. If you walk into a restaurant where there's a lot of people talking, there's a lot of chatter in the background, those are actually human voice, but they are crowded human voice that becomes an ambient noise. And in that particular case, our gateway is able to identify and see that it's, although human voice, but it's not really voice that you're trying to transmit to the other end over the phone. So we would actually help you to eliminate that. Similarly, if there's somebody singing, in a concert or playing music in a bar, there's human voice involved inside the music, but we recognize that it's not, real human voice next to a microphone trying to talk to you, so that we will also eliminate those as well. But I do want to highlight one thing though, Eric. Baby crying is human voice, and we cannot filter any of that, unfortunately.
Understood. Thank you, David. In the video, we saw a great example of what might be a customer calling or even a colleague calling while on the street with some busy street noise. For people that might work in loud corporate environments as well, inside the office with a lot of noise, does the technology work in that respect as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it could be indoors, could be outdoors. In fact, sometimes when you're in a glass enclosure where there's a lot of glass conference rooms or even glass quiet rooms, if you use a general telephone, it tends to feel a little echoey. We actually fix a little bit of that as well. So not only the noise part, but also we help a little bit on the acoustics as well in where you are.
Great, David. So, in the latter part of your presentation, you got into some AI stuff and talked about helping increase AI accuracy rates. Do you have any results or any example statistics that you can share about that?
Yeah, we actually did a few tests with the fintech AI company called GTCom, and from the test result data that they provided us before they put in place of our noise cancellation gateway, their AI engine failure rate or error rate was at 10%. And once they put in the DeltaPath noise cancellation gateway, the error rate dropped from 10% to 3%. And they actually simulated, 60 different noisy environments in this field test.
Now, you mentioned being able to get the solution up and running, in about 10 minutes or so. Can you quickly walk us through what needs to be done to make that happen?
Yes, so 10 minutes, you need to unbox, rack mount it, plug in the power cable, plug in the Ethernet cable. And then once you do that, all you need to do is in our configuration screen, set up the IP address, create a SIP trunk, and then create a SIP trunk to the PSTN and create a SIP trunk to your UC server, and then create what we call an outbound routing, which basically dictates what numbers get to filtered, and that's it. Then immediately calls will start to be filtered through the box. So it's literally, for me, it will be less than 10 minutes.
And how does that setup differ if you're deploying on premises versus in the cloud?
In fact, that 10-minute is the on-premise solution. If you're actually doing in the cloud, it will be even shorter than 10 minutes. Yeah, because you don't need to rack mount anything and power up anything.
Great, excellent. Now, obviously, a lot of people using noise canceling headsets these days.
Mhm.
How does your solution compare? You know, do people still need your technology if they're already using noise cancellation headsets?
Yeah, this is a really good question. A lot of times, we speak to customers and they say, well, we've invested into all these noise cancellation headsets for our contact center agent. Well, that is only one side of the story, because you can't filter your customers' noisy environment, and that's where our noise cancellation gateway comes handy in place. And plus, noise cancellation headsets have their own limitations. First of all, you have to have the headset with you, and if you are a remote worker, it is unlikely that you'll be, carrying, a headset with you all the time. You could just be well with your cell phone, and you had to take a call, you had to take a call. And it's an investment that you have to make. And noise cancellation headsets it's not cheap. And final thing is noise cancellation headsets. I would say it's more of a personal item. So you generally would never share headsets. So if you, for example, walk in to a quiet room, and that you don't have your headset with you, and then you can't really borrow someone's headset, and etc. So I would say it's two very different things: noise cancellation headsets and the noise cancellation gateway.
Absolutely, David. Here's another a little more specific question from our audience. Does the technology also work with SRTP streams?
Yes, in fact, by default, all of the communication between the gateway and the UC server and the PSTN provider would have the encrypted SRTP turned on by default. Yeah, encryption is definitely very important.
Great. What about deploying the gateway on premises in a VM?
That is also possible. So some organizations, they have their own virtualized environment, and they want to take the software on premise in their own VM hypervisor. That's also possible. We support VMware's ESXi, Microsoft Hyper-V, Linux KVM. So these are all possible.
And what about scalability, especially for people that are deploying on premises?
Yeah. So we have three different hardware models for on-premise. We have the 32 concurrent channels, the 256 concurrent channels, and the 512 concurrent channels. And it's easy to stack them up. So as you want to scale up, all you need is an additional box, and you can actually stack and scale without much limitation. So as many boxes as you need.
Great, thanks, David. What kind of failover capabilities do you have?
So in terms of failover capabilities for the on-premise solution, it's similar to how you scale up. So you would generally have 2 units, or if you like, you can actually have 3, 4, unlimited number of units as you see fit. And generally, with any UC server, it would support multiple IP addresses. So you would actually add in the IPs of each of the boxes into your zip trunk. so that if one of the boxes is not responding, or it's full, or it's not working, it will automatically fail over to the next. To be a little bit more technical, some SIP server actually supports what we call DNS SRV, and so we also support that, so that you can also utilize DNS SRV to do failovers between all of the noise cancellation gateway boxes.
Great, David. Now, you talked about IVR and call center several times as you were going through your slides. There's a question specifically about Genesis, and does the technology work with Genesis? But are there, generally, what kinds of call center platforms do you work with?
Yeah, Genesis and also Interactive Intelligence, which got acquired by Genesis, are the common ones that we work with. In fact, we actually have Genesis resellers working with us and actually pushing this noise cancellation gateway to quite a number of call centers around the world.
Awesome, David. Getting back to the cloud versus on-premises deployment, can you talk about the pricing model for either scenario? Is it a pure CapEx play on premises and just a month to month on the cloud side, or how's that work for you?
Yeah, in terms of on-premise, so you would actually get a hardware box. The typical price, MSRP, it's about $750 US a port or a concurrent channel. If you opt for the cloud solution, you can actually pay as you go, and the MSRP is less than a cent a minute of usage. So you can easily scale as you see fit, and without breaking the bank.
Great, David. Thank you very much. That really does take us to the end of the time that we have for our Q&A today. Just a couple of quick closing notes. Again, if you had any trouble seeing the video today, a link to the video will be available in a follow-up email, so you can check it out without any disruption. Also, contact information as well as details on accessing the on-demand version of today's event will be included in that follow-up. And certainly feel free to share that information with any of your colleagues who may not have been able to join us for today's live event. With that, I want to give a great big thank you to David Liu for taking time out of his busy day, especially in this crazy time. Thank you for the team at DeltaPath for setting up that demo and recording the video. Fantastic demo. And with that, we're out of time, and I wish everybody a fantastic afternoon. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all here again soon.
Thank you all.